Do you feel the pull to mentor but worry it will drain your time, energy, and emotional reserves? What if mentoring could actually build you up instead of wearing you out? Well, in today's episode, we'll talk about why mentoring matters and how to find the right students. I'll give you 2 to 3 key reminders for mentoring, along with 10 practical ways to mentor without burning out. So if you've ever wanted to invest in others but felt hesitant, this episode is your guide to giving without losing yourself. Welcome to the Society's Child podcast, where we have real conversations about being a trauma-responsive educator in the midst of a significant mental health crisis. Hi, I'm Trish Senzak, a former educator, compassion advocate, and Jesus lover, and I'm so grateful that you're here. Are you feeling confuzzled about your students' behavior and needs? You're not alone. If trauma-informed strategies leave you wondering, what's next? Don't worry. My friend, I've been there too. As a foster mom and a child of complex trauma mixed with my experience as a teacher, it's led me to finding a compassionate, whole child approach that's evidence-based, practical, and transformational, and I'm so eager to share it with you. Whether you want to connect with your students on a deeper level, create a trauma-sensitive environment, or you just need a little bit of encouragement or support, you're in the right place. So grab a drink, a pen, or your earbuds, and let's work together to create a safe and student-attuned trauma-responsive school culture. Society's children need you, so let's get started. Mentoring is powerful, but let's be honest, especially as teachers, it can feel overwhelming when you're already stretched thin and you have no way of giving another ounce of anything out of you. Mentoring can be incredibly recharging, mainly because it reminds you of your purpose. It allows you to give back and serve, and it allows you to see growth happen right in front of you. And sometimes when you pour into others, it often reignites your passion, sharpens your character, strengthens your faith as God works through both you and your students. Instead of draining you, it might be energizing. And the reason I say that is because a lot of times when I've been able to give back to students, or I've been able to give back to people who are needing something from me in terms of emotional help, a lot of times I find that I'm learning about myself as I'm helping the other person. When I've sponsored someone or I've mentored someone, most of the time, it's interesting how it works. The things that I'm having them work on, I'm having to speak into from where I believe, and it challenges my own values. It challenges my own growth and my own ideas of how I'm living life. And I do believe that this can be the same way with our students, because God works through both you and your students with boundaries and intention. It can be life-giving. And there's 10 things that I want you to think about, and I'm going to go through them kind of quickly because I think that they're pretty simple. Number 1, set boundaries from day one. Be clear about your time, your expectations, and your emotional energy that you're getting ready to pour into this situation so you can stay balanced. A lot of times we go home with these problems at night, and you have to find ways that you can stay balanced, be present with your family, and be able to set boundaries. So ask yourself how much you're able to take home. What are you actually able to do? Where are your lines and what are your boundaries with grace for yourself and for the kiddo? Number 2, use group mentoring. So build connections with multiple kids at once through group discussions and lunch gatherings. So it doesn't have to be just one-on-one. There might be 2 or 3 kids that you're trying to meet with or you're trying to talk to or connect with before correcting them. Find ways to maybe meet with them as a group. Get them all on your side and get them to work with you. Number 3, leverage your existing time. So transitions that you already have in the classroom before or after class starts, recess if you're in elementary school, after school activities where you can actually mentor them if they're in a club, or have little moments that you can one-on-one set time aside for them. Rather than adding to your schedule, find these little glimpses. Go seek out the kid at lunchtime. Whatever you can do to take the existing time so it doesn't have to take into your out of school time, and just focus on the one kid. Focus on the 2 kids. Whatever God is calling you to do, focus just on them. Number 4, consider pairing up with another teacher. So if you know that that particular student has another teacher that you can go to and talk to, maybe you can set a plan with the two of you. You guys can come up with ways to do this together. Lean on each other for support and come up with a strategy that works so that you can help turn this child around and let them feel safe, like they have someone that's leaning into them for once.
Hi, friend. I wanted to pause right here and just take a moment to ask you for a special favor. If you are finding anything helpful in this episode or any previous episodes that you've listened to, would you pause right now, go into the Apple Podcast app, scroll down to the bottom of the show, and find the Leave a Review button. It would be awesome if you would take a moment and follow the show and do this. There are people out there just like you looking for this information, and this would help the algorithm get this into other people's hands, and it would be helpful for them as well. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. It's one of the biggest favors that you can do for me. I appreciate you and thank you in advance for taking the time to do this. So let's get right back to the show.
Number 5, focus on listening and not fixing. A lot of times we as humans have the urge to make someone else's life better. We have to avoid feeling responsible for solving every problem, especially as it comes to our students. Sometimes students just need to be heard. Sometimes they just need to feel validated and valued in that moment. And that's it. That's okay. They just need you to listen without judging. So you're focusing on telling yourself, I'm just listening. And you need to do nothing else. Just listen to where they are, not fix their problems and not tell them what to do, not guide them. Sometimes it's just listening so that they can feel heard. Number 6, celebrate the small wins. So this is where you're going to track progress. Even in little steps, you're going to remind yourself and the students that this is one tiny step at a time. It's little conversations, a little bit of encouragement here and there. And you're going to focus on the small things that the kid is doing and helping them to see that they're building success, and they can realize, they can say to themselves, I can do this. It's the small things that catch them and move them forward. Number 7, use encouragement cards or notes. So you might want to write quick notes to them of affirmation that they can hold on to instead of having lengthy conversations. So sometimes you might want to write a note on the top of a paper, or you might want to just put a sticky note on their desk, or have a card that just walks by as you're perusing the classroom and just lay it on their desk, and it'll just be a note between the two of you. However you can to just write that note doesn't mean that you're having to have a one-on-one conversation with them. It might light up that child's world if you tell them, I see you and I am praying for you, or I'm helping you, or if you're not able to say I'm praying for you in that moment, just I'm here to encourage you, or I'm here to lift you up, or I'm here, I know, whatever you can say to them that would just lift them up in that moment. Write it down, put it on that note. Number 8, incorporate faith into your approach. Pray for your students and pray for yourself. This is a hard one because sometimes I know when I was teaching, it was difficult for me to think about my kids outside of the classroom time. And there were times I didn't even want to think about them, and I wasn't always sure that I was going to be praying for them. But ask God to multiply your efforts and protect your energy, and to do the same thing for your students. Many times we don't lift our students up in prayer, and that's one simple thing that we can be doing. And if you work in an environment where you can have those conversations, maybe pray with your student if you're able to. Number 9, which we kind of alluded to a little bit at the top with pairing up with another teacher, but it also goes a little bit further. And this is where you can ask students to step into peer mentoring roles. If you can allow them to lead without you carrying the full weight, it might help other students to be able to speak life into them as well. Of course, we would want to train them and help them to be peer mentors when the other kids don't even know they're being mentored. But these kids can kind of carry that role and speak life into them somewhere else, fed through by you, but helping the other kids be able to encourage, motivate, and lift up these kids as well. So that would help you rotate the responsibility a little bit. And number 10, make rest a priority for yourself. Replenish yourself spiritually and emotionally so you can keep pouring into others. These kids need you prayed up. They need you grounded. They need you rested. And it's so important for you to find that as a priority. And many times we as teachers don't. You've got to take time to that. You've got to invest in that, because you can't give back to these kids unless you're fully taking care of yourself. And my friends, remember that scripture where it says, love your neighbor as yourself? There is an expectation that we're going to be taking on that responsibility of taking care of ourselves. So my friends, mentoring doesn't have to leave you feeling like you're running on empty. When you set the boundaries, when you lean into God's strength and you focus on connection over perfection, mentoring can actually energize you. It can build you up and remind you about the great work that you're doing. If you're able to do this in a way that you are sharpening someone else, you can remember that it's a shared process. As you pour into others, you're sharpening someone else. But God also sharpens and strengthens you through the process as well. And that's where some of the regeneration comes from. It's energizing. So my friends, who's on your heart right now? Who needs a little extra guidance or encouragement sitting right in front of you? Don't let the fear of burnout keep you from stepping into what God's calling you to do. You might just find yourself sharpened, feeling better, more energized in the process. I hope so. Thanks for joining me today, friends, and keep showing up, leaning in, and leading with purpose. These kids depend on it. Until next time, my friends. See you on the next episode.
Hey, amazing educators. Thanks for tuning in. If you found this episode helpful, I'd love for you to hit subscribe and leave a review. Even better, share this episode with a colleague. And hey, I'd love to connect with you on social media. You can even join my Facebook group for some extra support and a dash of inspiration. I've left all the links in the show notes. Until next time, my friend, remember, you're not alone on this journey. You've got this. Keep making a difference and stay teach-tastic.